Hi, welcome to our Streaming Stories Spotlight. I'm Beth. I'm an adult services librarian at the Rocky River Public Library.
Hi, I'm Mary Morielli. I'm a library associate at the Adult Reference Desk at Rocky River Library. Nice to see you, Beth.
Good to see you, Mary. Thanks for coming over to Zoom with me today. Today we are going to talk about a really important documentary called I Am Not Your Negro. It is based on an unfinished manuscript written by James Baldwin, and it was an account of his life and his living through watching some of his close friends and really important activist figureheads in the civil rights movement as they all lived, and then he watched them all end up passing away and being assassinated too throughout his life. So it was written as a manuscript, and it never actually was completed. He only completed 30 pages of it. Then Raoul Peck, a director, managed to find the manuscript and use it to base it on this documentary and weave the story together to create this very powerful, compelling documentary, I'm Not Your Negro.
It definitely was a very powerful documentary, Beth. Some important film facts about the documentary is that it did make its world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2016, and then it did go on to premiere or to be shown at numerous international film festivals, well-known ones such as the New York Film Festival as well. This film was nominated for an Oscar for the Best Documentary Feature, but it did lose to OJ Made in America. Another interesting film fact is that by the end of its run, I Am Not Your Negro had become the greatest documentary box office hit of 2017, netting over $7 million. So think about that as a documentary.
$7 million for a box office it's notable for a lot of fictional films that they're like, yeah, we made our money back, but $7 million for a documentary is not the norm. Generally speaking, box office numbers like that don't exist for documentaries because that's not what people go to the theater for. So that's fantastic. That's absolutely amazing.
Agreed.
I didn't realize how much I loved the way that James Baldwin spoke and wrote. But
I agree, Beth. I mean, it was a really compelling film. The director did a wonderful job of one thing that he did in particular that that really spoke to me is if you watch the film, there's a lot of archival footage in it from the 50s and 60s. A lot of obviously about the civil rights movement, some rioting, some marching, and then those scenes in themselves can be very moving and compelling. And then he immediately switched over to what's a more current happening in Ferguson, Missouri. So I thought just to see those side by side was a really wonderful technique of the director to really, bring you around to think about, even though we're talking about two very important events so far apart in history, yet still the same struggle.
Same struggle, absolutely. I mean, even if if you were to have made this film in 2020, unfortunately there would be new content to slice in there and just show that the fight is still happening.
And another important point that I think that the filmmaker makes is, the story focuses on the three major civil rights icons, Martin Luther King Jr., Medgar Evers, and Malcolm X. Now, these three men, as well as James Baldwin, very, very different in how they pursue their message and how they, how they speak, but yet fighting for exactly the same message. And the director actually brings that into this film by having, if you see the footage of James Baldwin, he's, as you mentioned earlier, he's a very eloquent speaker, always very composed, not easily rattled at all. But yet a lot of the narration of the film, well, all of the narration of the film, when is by Samuel L. Jackson. Very different voice from James Baldwin, but yet the same message, the same very important message.
Absolutely. And one, when you were saying how they all had a different method of presenting, and they all, you know, their personalities would come out in different ways as they would articulate their message. One of the striking quotes that I pulled from the documentary was, this is a quote of James Baldwin, and it said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." And so we have to face these cold realities, and we can't hide them under the rug. We have to talk about them, and we have to know that they happened. And it's so wild to me because growing up, civil rights movement was history to me, but it is still a fight that we are continuing to fight today. And another James Baldwin quote I pulled from this was, "History is not the past, it is the present, and we are our history." And thank you for talking to me about this really important subject today, Mary.
I agree, Beth. It's an important film. It's obviously historical. You will learn so much. And I do hope that our patrons can find time to download it on Kanopy and enjoy the film as much as we did.
Absolutely. It's such an important lesson. It was so well done, and just like excellent footage. Just to hear James Baldwin speak and to see him talking is worth it in itself. And you'll learn something. There's no doubt about that. So next month, we are going to be highlighting a mega award winner. It won Best Picture, both the Golden Globe Best Picture and the Academy Award Best Picture, among many other accolades. And the movie is Moonlight. You can watch that through our Kanopy streaming service as well. So check back on our YouTube channel in August, and we will be talking about that. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.
Thanks, Beth.
Thanks, Mary. Take care.